On this episode of Women Connected, we're talking about blogging and connecting on social media and how being your most authentic self can open doors, whether personally or professionally.
This is the Women Connected podcast, where we believe that women can improve their personal and professional lives through technology. If you're ready to cut through the noise and learn exactly the tools you need to create your professional brand, be recognized, and keep up in today's fast-paced world, then stay tuned.
Welcome to the Women Connected podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Goodgame, Program Director at TBW, where we believe that women can improve their personal and professional lives through technology. Don't forget to check our website for the show notes for all of our podcast episodes. Just go to tbwconnect.com/listen. If you're enjoying this podcast series, please take a moment and rate and review the podcast on iTunes. We appreciate your support. If you want more great content from TBW, you can like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. But even better, you can join TBW for just $52 a year and get access to members-only resources and events. Visit tbwconnect.com/join for more information. Today I'm talking with Emma Johnson, a journalist, single mom, and blogger at the popular site Wealthy Single Mommy. She also hosts her own AM radio show, The Emma Johnson Show, and she's a contributing editor at Success Magazine. She's also just a lot of fun to talk to. Emma, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm so excited to talk to you today. As we were doing our prep yesterday, we talked about so many different things to focus on today. And I thought I would just start by asking you a little bit about how you became a journalist and how you transitioned into something you're doing a lot more of now, which is blogging.
Sure. Well, I think I'm like the last of the Mohicans in my journalism career. I went to journalism school and got my little newspaper jobs right out of school. And, you know, the trajectory is you start at a small community newspaper and you move up. And I did that and I enjoyed it and I was pretty good at it. And, but it wasn't always a really great fit for me. So long story short, 10 years ago, I moved to New York, sort of sight unseen. I had some contacts, but no job. And I started freelancing because I needed money. And until I moved to New York, I didn't know any full-time freelance writers. It seemed like the sort of pie-in-the-sky fantasy dream job that no one had, except in New York, a lot of people were doing that. And I found I was really good at it. I started pitching big publications, which is really exciting for me because I was coming from smaller markets. And I like the hustle. I like the business end of it. I like the sales and the marketing and the whole thing. And I did end up landing a full-time job at the Associated Press, which to me at the time seemed very prestigious. But I hated that more than anything else. And part of the reason was I did not like working for other people. I figured out that I am an entrepreneur at heart. And so 10 years ago, I just decided I was going to go full-time freelance, and I've never looked back. I had a really great run, and I still am a freelance business journalist. I love business. I love writing about small business in particular, and also issues about women and work and all of these things that we're all talking about, and I love talking about with my friends, with my family, with readers. So that's been my focus, small business and women in business. And I had a great run of that, great credits, great relationships with a few great publications. And then about a year ago, I decided I need a blog. And part of the reason was because I didn't have one. Every writer needs a blog, and probably every person in the world needs a blog, I dare say. And I didn't have one because I was so focused on making money. This is the paradox, right? I was so focused on making money that I couldn't justify unbillable hours. And right? And so,
yeah.
Right. So, but I was getting a little burnt out, just normal course of action, you know, like I needed something new. So I started blogging and no one was speaking to me. I found myself as a single mom, a professional single mom. And if you Google single mom, there's lots of information out there for you if you want help getting a GED or, work at home options or other things that were not speaking to me and my peers, professional single parents. And there's a lot of us out there. I mean, I grew up with a professional single mom. I have a bunch, increasing numbers of my peers and friends who are professional single parents. For better or worse, people are just divorced, and the more educated people are also getting divorced. And more educated women are choosing to have children on their own. So there's all these things going on. No one was speaking to us. So I thought, well, okay, I'll speak to that group. That's like a good business proposition. It was very much like a business thing. And I was going to speak about personal finance, culture of money, society and money, psychology of money, all these things I was passionate about, but also it was very much a business proposition. Well, I just started that. And I started writing personally, really for the first time of my whole career. I mean, I would write an essay here and there over the years, but I really just started writing about my life. And then I started writing about my family, and I started writing about dating. And then the more personally I wrote, the better my writing was. And the better my writing was, the more people responded to it. And things just took on this like rocket ship course, where I just started writing more and more personally. I had this fear that if I wrote really personally, I showed my true colors, I would destroy my really successful conservative business writing enterprise. That was my fear. But what I'm finding in this digital age and with technology, it's all about followers. It's all about clicks. And my business is actually, I'm like more professionally successful than I've ever been in my life, while I'm also writing more personally than I've ever been in my life and writing more provocatively than ever before. So this comes back to a message for everyone, which is the more authentic you are, the better. And, addressing your fears. Why are you not putting your more authentic self out there in your branding, right? I struggle with that fear every single day to this day. And I'm talking about my sex life. I'm talking about my more horrible moments as a mom, very, very personal stuff. And I still have to address that fear, but it's a very powerful thing once you dig in.
So in doing that, I mean, you really do have some very prestigious credits to your name as a journalist. And in doing that and making this shift, how have your relationships with some of those, big publications, some of them, I guess we could call them even like legacy publications that don't have the greatest toehold in the digital world and things like that. How have those professional relationships been impacted?
Well, I can speak to, let's say, for example, the Times. I wouldn't have said I had a relationship. I have freelanced for them over the years, but not like some of my other clients. I actually have a regular relationship. I write for them weekly or monthly. With the Times, they found me. They promoted me on their Motherload blog, which was thrilling for me because that's exactly my demographic, professional parents. I'm on they have a very short blog roll, blogs to watch or blogs to read, and I get tons of traffic through that, which was awesome. A couple weeks ago, I got an email from one of the op-ed editors on their op-ed page, and they asked me to write an op-ed. I'm on their radar because what I'm writing is personal, and that is the only way you can stand out. I mean, my thing is I am a writer, so that's one thing, but I don't care what business you are in, you have to stand out. The technology, the beauty of it is that it levels the playing field in business. But the challenge is that you have to figure out how you're going to stand out then. So how are you going to stand out? The only thing that you've got is what's authentic to you as a human being, like what your experiences are, what your personality is, what makes you different. And for me, as my business is writing, media, opinion, messaging, what makes me different is just what's true to me. And my jam happens to be that I'm loud, I'm opinionated, I'm funny, I have skills as a writer, and I have my unique experience, which, it's whatever, my life stories, my experience as a single mom, I have a unique experience through my divorce. That's what's setting me apart, and because I'm waving that flag and being very authentic, those very established legacy, whatever you want to call them, publications, they take notice because they want that, right? If my business is attached to their business, then they're going to stand out because I'm already standing out.
So that seems like it's a really awesome change for you, making this shift into this more personal writing and into the whole sort of blogosphere, I guess we can call it. And one of the things we were talking about yesterday was this idea that no matter who you are, no matter what your, sort of job or your field is, having a blog can be a very beneficial thing. Can you talk a little bit more about that idea? Why blogging can be really important to kind of what your digital footprint is?
Well, there's twofold. One is just from the branding point of view, which I talked about. Like, how are you going to stand out? And that is really just being yourself. And blogging and social media, which are hand in hand, right? You can't have a blog if you're not promoting it through social media, because otherwise it's just hanging out in a black hole somewhere. But that is the greatest way to tell who you are. And a blog can mean lots of different things. You can be expressing yourself in text, like a blog, video blogging, podcasts. There's some really awesome infographics out there. That is an awesome way to tell a story. I mean, I would file these all under blogs. They're just ways of communicating you and who you are. So you need to do that in a way. And the other thing is a blog, it is a marketing tool, but it should not and does not have to be a hardcore sale/marketing message. The whole idea of blogs and why it's taking off is because it is real and it is human, right? You are writing whatever it is, you're writing about your experience that day, and somehow there's a takeaway for your customers or your clients. You're writing about your opinion on a current event, which is going to resonate with your target audience. I mean, these are all things, again, come back to what is inherent to you and your brand. And the other reason, and the reason why you need to make it human is because that is what a brand is. And we've had this blip in history. I mean, business has existed since the dawn of time. Business was not invented with Industrial Revolution and the advent of mass marketing and Coca-Cola signs. That's not advertising. That's not branding. I mean, that's kind of what branding was. I don't even think that's what branding is today. And it certainly was not branding for 10 or 20,000 years of humanity. Branding was simply, what's your reputation? What's your customer service? What are you offering in a unique way in your community? That's what a brand has always been. So I think it's about taking lessons from millennia and not from, Coca-Cola or Nike. That's not our role models.
So what would you say to women who are nervous about being too forthright or being too honest, I guess, online, whether they're engaging in social media or they're, doing their own blog or participating in, participating in conversations online, maybe on favorite websites or what have you. Women who are afraid that if they're too honest or too forthright, that it is going to be damaging to their professional brand or to their professional reputation, at a time when sometimes we don't necessarily feel like our jobs are very secure.
That's a very real fear and a very human fear. And it's something, I'll be honest, I'm still working through myself. I mean, writing personally has caused conflict in my personal life. I can't say it has in my professional life that I know about, but, maybe I've lost clients that I'm not even aware of, that then call back after reading something online. But I'll just give you a couple anecdotes. Like one, I actually just last month filed a story for my very great client, Success Magazine. And I was writing about personal branding, incidentally. And I profiled a woman. Her name is Built. She has Built Consulting. It's a healthcare consulting firm. So nothing sexy about that. So she did an about face in her branding a bunch of years ago. Put herself front and center, renamed her business. It had been some generic, corporate name, and she named it after herself. She put her face out there, and she said she started blogging about her family and her experiences. And she said, when I do a vlog, a video blog, when I'm like come back from a run all sweaty and gross, and I'm talking about some takeaway from my day, that video will get 800 clicks. But when I'm like all buttoned up in my little suit behind my desk giving some like corporate spiel, like that'll get 200 clicks. Right? So maybe even the takeaway message is the same between those two. But here she is like in a way that most of us would be horrified for our clients to see us. But she's just putting it out there because she's like, I'm a person like you. And that's how you connect with people. So that's one message. But the other thing I'll say, and poking around, so many of my colleagues are in a similar space as I am, which is that our product is the blog, or our product is the messaging, right? So that is what we're selling, which is not going to be the case for most businesses, right? The blog, for most businesses, you're an accountant, your blog is really going to just be a marketing tool for another service. But I see, my thing is I am a writer. That is my primary skill. And so I can take a very provocative personal experience and turn it into something universal. And not everybody is a writer, and I don't always hit the mark myself. I mean, that's something that is just a lifelong skill, or maybe even you would say an art, to taking personal experiences and teasing out a universal message. So, if you are promoting a home sales jewelry business, and not everybody should be writing what's the value in talking about like your sexy date that weekend, or about like how life is just total mayhem at your house on a Saturday morning. I mean, I can relate to those as a woman or as a mother, but otherwise it just becomes confessional and in poor taste, and it becomes just provocative for the sake of being provocative. But if you have the storytelling ability to say, oh my God, the kids were going bananas in the house, and the dog pooed on the carpet, and it was like all this crazy but then the takeaway was then I put on my beautiful necklace, and it kind of gave calm to the storm, or whatever. There's a certain skill in telling that story, and you can be a perfectly competent writer and write a perfectly good blog post, but tread lightly if you're going somewhere really ugly, I would say. But that said, I mean, it is like that fine line, because I really urge people to really push themselves to go personally. I mean, people come to me all the time, friends or colleagues, and ask me to help with headlines or with writing. And I'm constantly pushing them, like, tell me a story, right? You don't have to tell me like this horrible thing that happened in your childhood, but just tell me a story about your day. Tell me about some moment when you felt a little ashamed today, or something really funny that happened. That for most people is like a huge challenge. So, I think that's probably the bigger problem. People just putting really boring crap out there. You might just make it interesting. I don't really think it's very, very hard for people to swing too far for most people.
That sounds like really great advice, and kind of a way to put a little bit of a frame, or have a sense of what the boundaries are if you're sort of stepping into this area that may feel a little bit different, or maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable for you. And kind of along those lines, I just want to shift gears a little bit. You joke that you were the last writer on the planet to create a blog. And I'm wondering if you have any recommendations or suggestions for women who are interested in trying something new, but who are maybe really nervous about adopting it.
About a blog, or just technology in general?
Technology in general.
I would say
even.
Just go for it. I mean, I don't consider myself a particularly tech-savvy person. I do have a facility for it, and I find it fun and interesting, but it's just amazing what is out there and how user-friendly so much of it is. I am sure that every single one of women listening to this right now could set up their own basic WordPress blog. Every single one. It's that easy. Now, to get a really awesome one that has got all kinds of great widgets and looks really great, hire a professional, definitely hire outsource. But just go for it. It's so forgiving, because even if you screw up and it looks like crap, or you have a typo or whatever, you can fix it. Like, you fix it like right then. I mean, my stuff is full of typos. My friends, I mean, they're all writers, right, and editors, and for a long time they kept emailing me about all the typos. They just gave up. I don't even get those emails anymore, because it was a lost cause. So, just be forgiving of yourself. Be bold, because there's not really any way that you can't reverse it. I'm trying to think of anything you can't reverse.
Yeah, I love when I publish something. I mean, I also have a blog. I don't have tremendous readership, but I love it when I publish and I think I've got it, sort of all perfect, and I go back and, find the 27 spelling errors and, typos that are in there. And it is pretty satisfying, frankly, to be able to go back and perfect it and hit publish again with the good chance that nobody read it before I fixed it.
Yeah, that's the downside of success, right? I mean, but what I always tell myself is if you read the New York Times, their corrections column is a mile long every single day.
It is.
Every day. So
it is.
Give yourself room to screw up. And I think that's a life lesson. Just be bold.
Yeah.
It's okay. We all screw up. I mean, and that's part of this whole experience of putting yourself out there. It's been so humbling for me and so healing and cathartic in so many ways. It's like, I do screw up, I put my foibles out there, and that is what resonates with people because we all have them. We all are just these fallible human beings, and it's so wonderful to connect with people in that way.
It really is. So kind of along those lines, another new thing that you have, kind of brought into your arsenal is your radio show. And I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my radio show, So my radio show, it's AM syndicated nationwide, and it's really, it's a call-in show. I do have guests, and it's a new muscle for me to be working because I've always been this little writer behind my desk, writing. And I have, through this blogging experience, I've just been finding myself being pulled out in front of a camera, in front of a microphone, because I do have this big personality, and I think I was always ashamed of it. And whatever the universe or my own work or whatever coincidence, like I just keep having these experiences that are shoving me out in front of audiences, and it's terrifying for me. I did hire an agency over the last year to beat a lot of that fear out of me and beat some skills into me, and it's been great. And so the radio show is just a manifestation of all of that. The topics are very much in line with whatever I'm blogging about, what people are talking about. Last week I was blogging about women being dishonest about their physical attributes, right? What that means. So women being deceiving about their appearance when they're doing online dating, or women lying about their ages. I mean, I've been finding women my age in their 30s are lying about their ages. It's crazy to me. So what does this mean for us as individuals, and what does this mean for women and feminism? So these are the sort of topics that I explore, and it's just one more really awesome way. Well, it's two things. One, it's super duper fun. I mean, it's new for me, but it's also really, really fun to do a radio show. It's live, it's hot, it's like a really pressure cooker thing, but it makes it super fun. It's great to interact with people. It's just another way to reach more people, more women, connect, build my brand out. And so the brand building is one, it's really cool to say you have a radio show. It's more people listening, driving more people to my blog. It's one more asset. So now I'm in talks with people to bring in sponsorship. So it's one more asset that I have that I can monetize. And it's also a great networking thing because one of the most awesome parts of my new business is that I'm connecting with so many amazing people, so many awesome female entrepreneurs, including yourself, like opportunities like this. So I'm finding it's a great way if I want to network with a particular female entrepreneur or an thought leader. I can call her up and she'll probably take my call, but I mean, what am I offering her? Well, I can offer her a spot on my show, right? So she brings in her audience, she brings in her prestige. I'm offering her a platform to drive whatever she needs, sales of her book, traffic to her product, whatever it is. So it's a really awesome networking tool in that regard.
So one of the things that I hear from a lot of my peers is that social media feels very overwhelming to them, and it's hard for them to really conceive of how to use it as a way to engage, like you're talking about, with entrepreneurs or other people in their field or personalities like yourself that they would like to have an opportunity to have a conversation with. And I'm wondering for you, with sort of such a big menu of stuff that you're working on every week. You've got your professional clients, you've got your blog, the radio show, and then you also have a pretty active social media involvement. How do you kind of, not let that overtake the time that you need to spend doing, for, maybe not the best way to describe it, like your actual work, you've got to sit down behind your computer and actually bang out, a few hundred words about something?
Well, first of all, it is all actual work. And it's an evolving and shifting thing because my business is so new, like this new, right? So I'm still figuring this out. So some days I think I have deadlines for paying clients, but now my blog is monetizing itself. So that is really become a priority, even though, I write one article for a client might net me $2,000. A blog post isn't going to net me $2,000, but the potential ROI is much, much higher in a new business that I'm building that is not yet really, it's like very, very low revenue generating. So, and then the social media is all looped into all of that because I have one brand, right? I have the paying client. So I write for Retail Me Not, I write for Success Magazine, I write for Daily Worth, I write for, I just did something for Worth Magazine. Dr. Oz's new magazine came out. They have a new magazine coming out, ladies, FYI, in February. I'm writing in the first edition. You heard it here first. So all of these things are like, so I'm promoting all of those for a couple of reasons. One, it's deepening my relationship with those clients. It's pushing out my brand because I'm like, hey, I'm doing all these really cool things attached to these big brands. Look at me. So it's all one big pot of Emma. It's the Emma Show all the time, not just on
right.
Friday mornings at 11 a.m. It's Emma Johnson Show 24/7. So it's really looking at that big picture. It's all part of it. It's like a marketing arm versus whatever. So, and it can be overwhelming, but I'm finding ways to find synergy. Like one, engage technology for Twitter, for all social media. I highly recommend Buffer. Pay the $10 premium, whatever. It's like the best $10 you'll spend all month long. You can just plug in and automate this. And so then you can get really sophisticated. Like I've started analyzing which of my blog posts, which tweets. Twitter is really the primary driver of traffic to my blog. So, which tweets worded which way are most effective, and then you can kind of finesse it. So I automate I think 8 tweets a day. And then I do spontaneous ones where I'll go through my Feedly, which is a news aggregator, tweet out just random news articles. I mean, it might be something in Inc. magazine. It might be something in Exo Jane, because this is where my interests lie. This is authentic to me, like what my news paradigm is or my interests are. So this is all part of my branding. Like when I'm reading the news, this is part of my brand. And this is applicable to you too. If you have a widget company, right? Your Twitter followers are like in the widget world. And if you're reading trade magazines about widgets or logistics or distribution or manufacturing, like they are going to be interested in that. So tweet that stuff out. So it's all that. And then in terms of subject matter, this is specific to me working in media, I find a lot of synergies. So, if I'm writing an article for a client and I'm having a really interesting conversation with a source I'm interviewing, I think, oh yeah, that would be a really great blog topic. And so I might bring that person in and do a Google Hangout chat, which then becomes a blog post. And then that's like getting a lot of traction with my readers. So then I decided to morph that into my next week's radio show. So it's, for me, I'm in the idea business, and sometimes, you got to figure out, generate a lot of ideas and then figure out which ideas are going to resonate with people. So when you get a hot one, make the most out of that. And it's just building momentum on all of these things. And then social media is just building into all of that too.
That, in some ways, it sounds really exhausting. And in other ways, it just sounds really amazing because it feels like you have that you have found a way to think of all of these parts of you and all of these parts of the kind of work that you are finding yourself to enjoy more now, to really sort of all feed back into the goals that you have. And that just seems like a really great place to be.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just hearing myself talk about it now, it's working because I am excited about it.
Yeah.
Right? It is a lot. But I also want to say, it's really, you have to get in on time management. I mean, that's such a hot thing. I've been writing about it. I have a project where I'm working on a book right now about moms and overwhelm. It's all about time management. Everything I just said, I do between the hours of 8:30 and 3:30 every day. And I exercise an hour and take a shower every day. So those are the hours my kids are in school. There's some exceptions. Like I'm doing a radio interview tomorrow, so I have a babysitter for an hour.
but that's it. And so I'm like the primary financial provider for my family, all of this stuff. So you can do it, but you have to be really smart about it. You have to be focused, and you have to do it if you love it, because otherwise what's the point? Like, I know if I'm not interested in an article I'm writing, which happens, I gotta pay the bills, I will just procrastinate for days, and that is money down the pooper. So it just is. So it's like, it doesn't, and it's like one lesson I can't learn, right? I'm learning it, if I keep forgetting it and have to relearn it. Pick the projects you're passionate about, because you're going to be most efficient at it, and it's just going to fuel your whole life.
I think that is such a great place for us to end our conversation today. Just, I love that phrase that you said, you have to do it because you love it. And I want to thank you again, Emma, for spending time with me this morning. This has been a great conversation, and I hope that you continue to have really great success with all of these new ventures in your professional life.
Well, thank you, Lisa. This has been so fun.
All right, Emma, take care. The Women Connected podcast was brought to you by TBW and the TBPW Foundation, underwriter of many of our training and leadership development programs. For more information about TBW membership and our upcoming programs, please visit our website at tbwconnect.com. We hope you'll join us next time on Women Connected.